All right, all right, all right. Welcome to Pro Football First 50 Years, where we take the past and we bring it back to life. Now, you can go online, especially if I'm going back to the 20s and the 30s and all and everything. And you can go online and you can find like a box score for the game, who scored a touchdown, how far the field goal was. You can find maybe what the attendance was, what stadium the game was played at, maybe even starting lineups for both teams. But exactly what happened during the game? Well, thanks to old newspaper articles, we get to take a little bit of a deeper dive into each and every game during the first 50 years of professional football. Well, a little news flash here for you. There ain't no fancy videos here, nothing like that. All there is you and me for the next 30 to 60 minutes. So if that's all right with you, let's get it on. And today's game, it starts. It starts. Especially if you're a Packer fan. Vince Lombardi's first career win. Now, I've already gone over their exhibition season, their 6-game exhibition season, and they did pretty well during the exhibition season, but this is their first game ever. Regular season game, and Vince Lombardi came out on top over George Halas. It was not exactly a barn burner, shall we say, but Vince Lombardi came out victorious. And we'll see. There's some interesting little side notes here. But quite possibly, this game here, this loss here, is one of the losses that the Bears had, which possibly prevented them from battling for the NFL title that year, because the Colts, who won it all, were 9-3. The Bears were 8-4. Packers were 7-5. So I mean, the West was very, very good. I mean, San Francisco could score points. The Lions were always tough. The Lions, won the championship 2 years prior in '57. So they were tough. So that West was a very good division. The game here was played at City Stadium, which is not actually the original City Stadium. So it was actually City Stadium 2, which actually isn't even called City Stadium anymore. It's called Lambeau Field. Did you get that? There'll be a test at the end of this video. But as we see here, right, September 27th, 1959, Green Bay Packers. I mean, this was, not exactly what you call a barn burner here. Right. Newsflash, right? Spoiler alert, sorry. Packers win 9-6. I mean, Packers won like streaks, big time streaks, especially if you throw in their exhibition game here. Look, because their last 2 exhibition games they won, and first 3 games of the season they won. So they won 5 games in a row. Then they lost 5 games in a row. Then they finished it off by winning the final 4. Now, they wound up with 7-5. So winning these final 4 was very, very important to them. But I mean, all in all, they were 1-10-1. Go back here to their previous season in '58. You go from 1-10-1 to 7-5. I mean, that's huge. And the way it was, obviously back then, a lot of times is that, especially when you had, pretty much, it's not the way it is nowadays, where you got guys coming and going, like, I don't even want to get started on it, but the guys nowadays, they come and go, like, it's unbelievable. They changing teams left them. But especially back then, when you obviously had the same guys on the same teams for long, extended periods of time, then a lot of times the only way they changed teams was actually trades. Remember those? Huh? Yeah. But I mean, if you had a good coach and you had, the same players, teams are usually good for extended periods of time. It wasn't like it is nowadays, where one year the team wins the division, the next year they're in last place, then the next year they win a division, then they're in last place. Then it's not the way it is nowadays. We show the obviously with the Bears, as I said, they wound up in second place here at 8-4. So this loss here, I mean, especially. Yeah, you could see. I mean, they were putting up some points. 26 on the Colts, which was no easy feat. Especially they went into and they beat them. The team that won the championship. The Giants can only score 16 points on the Colts and 59 in the championship game, and they scored 9 points going into the fourth quarter. The Giants didn't score their last touchdown until about like a minute to go in the game. So I mean. The Bears, I mean, they didn't have an unbelievable offense, but they could put up some points. What did you see here? What did they do the second time against the Colts? They lost to the Colts 21-7. But, putting up some points here. But this one game here against the Packers, they only put up 6. And as we see, if Paul Hornung actually was able to kick like a 14-yard field goal, 14-yard field goal, the Packers could have won by even more than this. But it is what it is. But this was a very important, little did they know at the time, but this loss, really hurt the Bears' chances at, I mean, if they were to win this game, it didn't. It is what it is. But I'm saying if they were to win this game, there's a possibility, they could have wound up, right, 9-3 and tied with the Colts, and they would have had a playoff to see, and whoever it was would have hosted the championship game. So, but as I said, let me stop sharing my screen here. So this game here was played at the time, City Stadium, or shall I say City Stadium 2, coming soon to a theater near you. 3D. It's like 3D. You got your 3D glasses on. There was a City Stadium 1. And then they built another stadium, City Stadium 2. Not to be confused with County Stadium, which is in Milwaukee, where the Packers actually played a couple home games this season as well. They played, I think, their one preseason game at County Stadium. Then they played 2 home games at County Stadium. But they played 4 of their home games in Green Bay City Stadium. Now, after Mr. Lambeau, passed away in 1965, the stadium was renamed Lambeau Field. So, did you get that? So we'll go over a little bit of the stadium here. And, of course, on Wikipedia, it says Lambeau Field, but it was originally called City Stadium. All right, share screen, Lambeau Field. And then after this, of course, I got some nice coverage of the football game here with some articles. All right. And here we go, right? Lambeau Field is the outdoor athletic stadium. I was there a couple years ago. Saw the, wasn't the Ice Bowl, but it was the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers were there. It was a few years ago. Aaron Rodgers was there. Game went to overtime, and the Packers would prevail in overtime. I think it was 31-28, if I'm not mistaken. Very, very, very exciting game. Very exciting game. Yeah, the home field of the Green Bay Packers of the National Football League. It opened in 1957 as City Stadium, which replacing the original City Stadium at Green Bay East High School as the Packers' home field, and formerly known as the new City Stadium for its first 8 seasons, which would be 57-65. It was renamed in August of 65 in memory of Packers founder, player, and longtime head coach Earl Curly Lambeau, who had died 2 months prior. With a seating capacity of 81,444, Lambeau Field is the second largest stadium in the NFL. It is now the largest venue in the state of Wisconsin, edging out Camp Randall Stadium, which is the University of Wisconsin. The playing field at the stadium is a conventional north-south alignment and an elevation of 640 feet. Lambeau Field is the oldest continually operating NFL stadium. In 2007, the Packers completed their 51st season at Lambeau Field, breaking the all-time NFL record set by the Chicago Bears at Wrigley Field from 1921 to 1970. While Soldier Field in Chicago is older, the Bears did not play their home games until 1971, and the team did not play there during stadium renovations in 2002. Only the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park and the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field have longer active home field tenures in American professional sports. Right. Packers seek a modern facility. Since 1925, the Packers have played at 25,000-seat City Stadium, which back then, 25,000 was good, very good. Now, especially if you could fill it up, that would be outstanding. So the original City Stadium was located behind Green Bay East High School. However, by the 1950s, it was considered inadequate for the times. It was built almost entirely of wood. East High's locker room facilities were considered inadequate even in the 20s. And now we're talking 30 years later. Could you imagine? Whew. All right. Where am I? Visiting teams often dress before the game at the Hotel Northland. Could you imagine this nowadays? Where the Packers' opponents stayed at the time was the Hotel Northland. The stadium could not be expanded. The East High's location ruled out any expansion to the south, and it could not be expanded to the north or the east due to its location along the East River. Officials in Milwaukee, 120 miles to the south, where the Packers had played a part of their schedule since 1933, knew that City Stadium was less than ideal as an NFL venue. They built Milwaukee County Stadium in 1953 in hopes of luring the Packers there full time. As originally built, County Stadium was double the size of City Stadium. Soon after County Stadium opened, the other NFL owners threatened to force the Packers to move to Milwaukee unless they built a new stadium. In August 1955, the Packers announced plans for a new stadium in Green Bay with a seating capacity of 32,000. And I think that's what this game here had, was 32,000. I think it was. Let's see. 32,150. In April 1956, Green Bay voters responded by approving 70.3% of bond issued to finance the new stadium. The original cost in 1957 was $960,000, paid off in 1978, and its seating capacity was 32,500. The new stadium was the first modern stadium built specifically for an NFL franchise. At the time, the 11 other NFL teams were playing either in facilities shared with Major League Baseball teams or in other pre-existing shared facilities. The site, now bordered on three sides by the village of whatever, was selected because it had a natural slope, ideal for creating the bowl shape, along with expansive parking. A nearby outdoor practice field and Don Hudson Center, as was the Packers Hall of Fame until 2003. The land had once been farmland belonging to Jacques Viau. Probably said that wrong, but the new stadium, originally known as New City Stadium, was officially opened in week one of the 1957 season, obviously once again against the Chicago Bears, and the Packers would win 21-17 in front of a capacity crowd of 32,132, which is basically the same size crowd you're going to see this game here, which was on September 27th, 1959. In the ceremony at halftime, the stadium was dedicated by Vice President Richard Nixon. Also in attendance on the platform were reigning Miss America, Bert Bell, the commissioner, Bears owner George Halas. Although they now have a modern facility in Green Bay, the Packers continue to play 2 or 3 regular season games in Milwaukee at County Stadium. Starting in 1995, expansions to Lambeau Field made it financially realistic for the Packers to play their entire regular season in Green Bay. For the first time in over 60 years, former Milwaukee ticket holders received tickets to a preseason game and games 2 and 5 of the regular season home schedule. in what is referred to as the Gold Package. Green Bay season ticket holders receive tickets to the remaining home games as part of the Green Package. Ah. Interesting. And there it is. All its beauty. I was there. Really, really nice. Beautiful, beautiful stadium. And if they ever put a dome, if they ever leave, I'm pretty much done with football. Yeah. Anyway, continuing on. Let's got a couple pictures here. Got a couple pictures of what it looked like pretty much the day it opened up, September 29th, 1957. All right, let's see here. What's this up? There we go. That should be it. Okay, we got some pictures here. All right, so you got over here, right? September 29th, 1957, Packers' first game at City Stadium. Or now it's called Lambeau Field. But if you look, this is basically where the heck it was at. Look at that. Lambeau Field used to be in the middle of a cornfield, for crying out loud. 1957 photo. And at the parking lot was gravel. So I guess it's the parking lot here. I mean, my goodness. How crazy is that? Here we go. Here's like September 29th, 1957, the birth of Lambeau Field. And you can see, right, they got this, put some more seats up here, right? Where are we at here? I know. Oh, I got this one here. Oh, this here. Lambeau Field started with a chain link fence around it, for crying out loud. And you can see, I mean, it's nothing compared to what it is nowadays, too. You know, I mean, the picture I showed you, I was like completely a total bowl, right? Got this one here, right? 67 years ago, Lambeau Field hosted its first game September 29, 1957. Let's see here. We got here's much more modern. Right, got almost the entire bowl going on right there. Here's a 95th Green Bay Lambeau Field 8x10 photo print opening day. So I guess maybe this is on eBay. Maybe, I don't know. Is that a real picture? Yeah, it looks like a real picture. Right. Lambeau Field circa 1957 to 60, modest looking from the outside. Yeah. But you can certainly see where, they can easily put a lot more seats here. I mean, there's, I guess they still haven't finished it over here, right? They're still building it. But I mean, to me, I was just kind of crazy. It's just, you see it's like out in the middle, really, out in the freaking middle of nowhere. I mean, well, it's like what they say. Was it to build it and they will come, or build it and he will come? I guess they say in that one movie. Yeah, I mean, this one there, and then this here. I mean, it's like, geez, Jiminy Crickets, what the heck? I mean, it's like there's nothing around, right? Crazy. Look at the traffic. Hey, you see 3 cars. Oh my goodness, how times have changed, haven't they? Huh? Well, that's the Lambeau Field that they were, and I said this was from 1957, so that's pretty much kind of what it looked like here. All right, so let's get into got some nice coverage here of the game. Now, interestingly, a little side note here. The Packers going into their exhibition season, they had 4 quarterbacks. And, Vince Lombardi was like, basically, it's like, going to have all the guys play. Although Pirelli didn't play too much from what I can remember. He got released. Now, they had 4 quarterbacks, and reading the articles of the exhibition during the exhibition games, Vince Lombardi wanted to knock it down to 3, have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Unlike today, where it's like everybody's a specialist. We got 53-man roster, but a lot of teams only have like 2 quarterbacks on the active. They might try to tuck somebody on the practice squad or something like that, but not back then. But Vince Lombardi said he wanted to knock it down to 3 quarterbacks. Well, they let Babe Pirelli go, and he got scoffed up. So he actually got shipped. Well, they get shipped off, but he got released, and he wound up getting playing in the Canadian Football League. So that they got down to Lamar McCann, some guy by the name of Bart Starr, and I can't remember Francis. Hold on. Let's see here. What was Francis's name here? The rookie Francis here, I believe it was. Joe Francis from Oregon State. Yeah, okay, Joe Francis. Now, Francis had one really good game. McCann had a couple good games. But I'll tell you what, going through the preseason, Bart Starr did not really light things up, shall we say. The last game when they played in Bloomington, Minnesota, their last exhibition game was against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bart Starr played in the second quarter. I think he led them to one drive led to a field goal. But in that quarter, he was 1 out of 4 for I think 10 yards or something like that. And they ran the ball a lot. They had their running game going. But Bart Starr was not the starting quarterback at the beginning of it all, as you might suspect he was. They put Lamar McCann in there for the first, I think, 7 games of the season. And as he was not really, doing phenomenally, he had 1 or 2 good games, but for the most part, nothing super spectacular. Bart Starr took over. I think he played in the final 5, started the final 5 games, and I guess is what you say, the rest is history after that. But Bart Starr was not the starting quarterback in this game, and the first 7 games of the season. Took him a while to get in there. But keeping him on the roster was obviously wound up being something huge because, between Francis, McCann, and Pirelli, the slim pickings there. Thankfully for the Packers that they had a good running game going. And they had a very good running game going in this game, too. Their passing, it was nothing super spectacular, but they were able to run the ball. And points in this game were at a premium. So let's go to the Green Bay Press-Gazette, who do a simply marvelous job of covering the Packers. I am a little disappointed because there was a time, especially I did some videos on the Packers from the 1930 season, and with the Green Bay Press-Gazette, they had play by 1930, and even like in the 20s and all, play by play, what happened. They'd have a column, say first quarter, and they'll say everything that happened in the first quarter, and then they'll have second quarter. Somewhere along the line, they stopped doing that. Don't know when it was, but they have a lot of nice coverage of this game. So the Green Bay Press-Gazette really, really does a great job of covering these games. So let's go to share the screen here. And the nice thing here is that, you got some pictures that you just won't really see anywhere else. All right, share the screen. Green Bay Press-Gazette. Let's go to the September 28th, 1959 version of the Green Bay Press-Gazette. All right, here we go. All right. Let's see. There we go. We got Packers shade Bears with late surge, 9-6. This is one of those rare, this stuff you ain't going to see nowadays, right? Where you got one Hall of Famer right here, 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 And as far as Greg is somewhere laying in this pile here, you have another Hall of Famer there. I mean, not too often nowadays you're actually going to see like 4 Hall of Famers in one picture in the NFL. I mean, it's just, but we got the big points here. The Packers offense and defense is shown scoring in Green Bay's 9-6 victory over the Bears before 32,150 at City Stadium Sunday afternoon. In the left panel, fullback Jim Taylor starts on a 5-yard TD jaunt around his own left end. Jerry Kramer, 64, and Fuzzy Thurston are about ready to put down key blocks, enabling Jim to cut upfield. Some of the others are Doug Atkins, Hall of Famer, Bill George, Hall of Famer, Kramer, Hall of Famer, Taylor, Hall of Famer, Gary Knafelk. Down here, there's Gary. He was like the original, and then somewhere along, then you started having like Boyd Dowler. Obviously, Max McGee was there too. He was, but Gary Knafelk. He was like one of the original wide receivers for the Lombardi era. And in the right panel, Bear quarterback Ed Brown is being tackled by Packer Nate Borden and Henry Jordan for a safety in the end zone to make the score 9-6. Number 79 is Dick Klein. Brown fumbled trying to lateral ball the teammate in the end zone. Dave Hanna received credit for the safety with 55 seconds left in the game. So they're tackling him. I got to move my leg. They're tackling him. I guess somewhere along, just to try to, instead of getting tackled, what you got to do something, right? And so I guess he tried to flip the ball to somebody, and the ball got knocked out. And so these are the Packers' score here. But I'll tell you what, as we read along, the Packers could have had some more points, but they scored like all their points in like the final 5 minutes of the game. Now, where do we want to go here first? All right, let's start over here. Fired Bay's notch touchdown, safety in the last 7 minutes, of the game. Ringo's recovery of fumble sets up winning score. Taylor pounds over. So, actually, this touchdown came courtesy of a Bears fumble. So the Bears were winning 6-0. A gutty defense and just enough offense added up to a historic Packer victory over the Bears at City Stadium Sunday afternoon. The final score was 9-6, with the Packers scoring a touchdown, the extra point, and a safety in the final 7 minutes of the heart-stopping game before 32,150. This was more than just a triumph over Green Bay's arch rival. It was the beginning of a new and fiery regime headed by thunderous Vince Lombardi, who was carried off the waterlogged field by the joyous Bays after the game. Well, they got a couple pictures of that, as well as also a picture or so of him going over and shaking George Halas's hand after the game was over. The Packers drew up a fierce defense, probably the Packers' toughest since the mid-30s, when they were good. 29, 30, and 31, they won the championship. They won in 1936 the championship. They won the championship in 1939. They won the championship in 1944. They were from 29 to 44. They won a lot of championships. In fact, this was only the second time Green Bay held the Masters of the Midway without a touchdown since 1938. That year in 1955. I do apologize. Yesterday, the Bears scored on a 42 and 46-yard field goals, and they got inside the Packers' 30 just one time. The Packers came up with an offense that showed much promise for the future. The offense was frustrated for 3 quarters of dropped passes, missed field goals. Yeah, Paul Hornung did not have a good game. Fumbles, penalties, and many little problems before the worm turned in the fourth period. And during it all, the defense remained murder. That future? The Packers now take on the Lions at City Stadium next Sunday. Kyle Rote and company should be especially tough since they lost to Baltimore 21-9 on Sunday. And oh yes, it is a pleasure to report that the Packers, by virtue of their stunning win, are tied in first place in the Western Division with the world champion Colts and the 49ers. A Bear fumble recovered fittingly enough by the Packers' offensive captain, Jim Ringo, set up the Packers' only touchdown in 5 plays from the Bear 26. Quarterback Lamar McCann, who started and finished despite a leg injury, alternated with Paul Hornung and Jim Taylor, and Taylor crashed it over from the 5 for the game's only touchdown. Hornung converted it the extra point to make it 7-6. An exchange of punts with time disappearing followed, and Max McGee got off a 61-yard boomer that rolled out of bounds on the Bear 2. On first down, Ed Brown went back into the end zone to pass, but 4 Packers went in on him like a shot. Dave Hanner was awarded the ensuing safety, and the Bays led 9-6. On the free kick, the Bears tried an onside, but Ray Nitschke, another Hall of Famer, recovered it on the Bear 28, and McCann ran out the clock. The fans counted down the last 14 seconds, and few left even after the final gun as they stood up and cheered. Oddly enough, the Packers might easily have had a handsome lead early. And right here, look, Paul. Kaverko, I'm going to say. Packers reduced their roster to the league limit of 36 by placing Andy Kaverko, rookie guard from Northwestern, on the injured reserve list before Sunday's game against the Bears. The Packers' 5th-round draft choice has a leg injury. Packers might have had a handsome lead. Look at these frustrations that had the fans, not to mention the Packers, gnashing their teeth. On the first play of the game from the Bear 20, Hornung, with Lou Carpenter in the clear on the 2, lost a touchdown with a too long pass. Hornung then missed a field goal. Gary Knafel got behind J.C. Caroline on the Bear 20, but McCann's pass was a trifle high. Boyd Dowler was 5 yards behind Caroline, but he dropped McCann's perfect pass on the Bears 15. Get the idea? 3 touchdowns down the drain in the first quarter. Then, in the second period, Packer holding penalty killed a 25-yard pass to McGee, and a moment later, Bill George intercepted a McCann pass. In the third period, Bart Starr fumbled the pass back on a field goal attempt by Hornung for a 3-3 tie from the 19. That would have been a 19-yard field goal, which is rather makeable. Hornung missed another field goal try, this time from the 14. He missed a 14-yard field goal. After McGee and McCann worked a 67-yard pass game. Then the defense started to get the fever. Bobby Dillon and Dan Curry, inside of 4 plays, couldn't hold on to interceptions of Brown passes. Packers, after all these curses, seemed to have that fumble recovery coming in the fourth quarter. But this time was the defense's day. The 4-man line, Nate Borden, Dave Hanner, Henry Jordan, and Bill Quinlan, exerted fierce pressure on Brown and Brakowski, and linebackers Bill Forrester, Tom Bettis, and Bill Forrester kept up the heat with timely Red Dogs. This kind of heat helped the secondary, Dylan M. Emlyn Tunnell, Jesse Whittington, and Bob Freeman, keep a close tab on the Bears' long-distance receivers. Harlan Hill, for instance, caught just 1 pass for 2 yards, and the Bears gained only 96 yards throwing. The Bears were limited to only 75 yards rushing, which must be a new low against the Packers. Rick Caceres was, okay, so I got to go and go to the next page, but hold on, let's see here. So we got some stats here. Packers had 16 first downs. The Bears had 10. Packers had 176 yards rushing. Good day. 75. They only had 101 yards passing, but the Bears only had 96. So they had 276. Basically, the Packers had over 100 yards more of total offense than the Bears did. but the Packers were only 4 out of 14 passing the ball, and they had one of them was intercepted. I mean, they really shut them down. I mean, Kezar and Gallimore, two really good running backs. Gallimore had 28 yards on 11 carries. Rick Kezar had 29 yards on 11 carries. Here we got Taylor had almost 100 yards rushing. Paul Hornung, 61. So between Hornung and Taylor, they had almost 160 yards rushing between the two of them. Let's see, McCann. I mean, just the passing was just not good at all. McCann was 3 out of 12 and 1 intercepted. Hornung attempted 2 passes and completed 1 for 20 yards. Let's see where we at over here. Okay. Defense was tremendous. Lombardi's Packers' powerful factor. It was a day for firsts. Green Bay has been in pro football for 40 years, but not even charter members of the Packer faithful can remember seeing the like of what happened the instant their favorite football sons had torpedoed Chicago's fearsome Bears at the rain-soaked City Stadium Sunday afternoon. 36 slightly delirious Packers overcome by 36. Nowadays, I think you're allowed to dress 46. Right? 36 slightly delirious Packers overcome by what they had just done to the vaunted Bruins, swept coach Vince Lombardi to their shoulders, and on the trot triumphantly bore him toward the dressing room. Clumping over the same soggy turf they and the Midway monsters had chewed up with such abandon during the course of the tense afternoon. Never, not even in the glory days from 29, 30, and 31, the first official three-peat in NFL history, when the Packers romped to 3 straight National Football League championships, had such a thing happen in the historic home of football's greatest phenomenon. This overcast day also was a big one to Lombardi for another reason. It was his first NFL victory as a head coach. He was Jim Lee Howell's chief assistant before coming to the Packers, and he was enjoying it. Having recovered from his impromptu ride and accepted congratulations from his coaching opponent, George Halas, Vince relaxed in his sanctorium with a grin that refused to come off and freely analyzed this maiden success. It's just like I told you when I first came here, he observed with a smile. You have to have a defense to win in this game. Our defense did a tremendous job. The broad-shouldered Italian also was pleased with his athletes' determination. When the breaks went against us in the first half, they stayed right in there, he said with pardonable pride. At the same time, he found we need a lot more poise offensively. We have a tendency to get too emotional. That's all right defensively, but it's not good offensively. Asserting we played a very emotional football game, he pointed out. Take Boyd Dowler, rookie end from Colorado, for example. In practice, he eats up passes like that long one he missed out there today. What had he and his aides done during the intermission to make the ground game go so much better in the second half? I just talked to them, was the frank reply. We didn't make any changes, just did it better in the second half. In this connection, he reported, I don't know whether it was apparent from the stands or not, but we changed up on the line of scrimmage on almost every play. In fact, McCann, the quarterback, changed up 3 times on one play. Wow. The one Jim Taylor, fullback, ran for the touchdown. Jeez, 3 times. Lombardi felt that McCann, who went all the way despite an injury, was tremendous. He was playing with a bad leg, a real bad muscle pull, From the middle of the second quarter on, he couldn't pivot on the leg. One time, Hornung was going in for the touchdown, and Lamar just couldn't get the ball to him. I'm just wondering why. If he was that bad. Why didn't he put Bart Starr in there? But I second-guessed myself about 20 times on whether I should have taken him out, Vince confessed. Actually, though, he threw beautifully. He threw the ball very well, very well. He called a beautiful game, just the way it was drawn up. He called every play, unlike today. He also was pleased with the pass protection, according to the ex-Cardinal. Only 16 yards lost passing, Vince noted. Anytime anybody does that against the Bears, you're doing all right. Pointing out that this was the first time I've kicked off in a game, he said, that's a switch, but I wanted that wind in the fourth quarter. And he might have added it paid off. A direct benefit was Max McGee's booming 11th hour punt that bounced out of bounds on the Bear 2-yard line and set the stage for the clinching safety. At this point, Dr. Bill Osmanski, former Bear fullback, arrived to offer his congratulations. You've really got a ball club there, Bill told Lombardi. I didn't recognize this team from last year with the same personnel. It's a miracle. As he left, business manager Jack Vanissi sighed. The last three have been kind of close. Lombardi, on his way out the door, turned and chided good-naturedly. You don't think for 1 minute that any of them are going to be any different. All right, let's see. In the Jason Packer, let me turn to see if we can get this. The Jason Packer dressing room, here we are, where Green Bay's happy Warriors were just beginning to view what happened with some degree of calm. It was unanimous. Their helmets were off to their defense. Those four boys up front deserve the credit. Hogg, Jordan, Borden, and Quinlan, Tom Bettis declared. They did a tremendous job. McGee, who hadn't heard Tom's tribute, unwittingly endorsed his sentiments when he drawled, we ought to throw the defense a party later when he encountered Quinlan returning from the shower. He told him, I'm proud of you, boy. One of the honorees, a svelte Henner, beamed and admitted it was a good one to win for the whole season. This game is going to mean a lot to us. Those Bears have a lot of personnel, more than most teams in the league. And the only way you can meet them is to outfight them. Another defensive stalwart, some guy by the name of Ray Nitschke, took no credit for anticipating that Bear onside kick in the final minute. I could hear him calling it from the sidelines, the ex-Illinois bone crusher said matter-of-factly. An offensive hero, handsome Jerry Kramer, was equally modest. The former Idaho star, who threw a key block in Taylor's touchdown run, contended, I was just out there getting in the way. Off in the training room, McCann was resting his aching right leg on an ice pack. It's just a Charlie horse, he said. I should be all right by Sunday. That sure is a nice one to get under the belt, Lamar added with a smile. The ex-Arkansas ace was pleased with Lombardi's implied vote of confidence. After I got hurt, I checked with him, and he told me to go ahead and play. When a man displays that kind of confidence in you, you'll do anything in your power to keep from letting him down. Call it a tremendous team effort, especially on defense, Lamar said. If they can keep that up and we can iron out a few of our mistakes, we're going to have a tough ball club. The Packers' winning performance convinced a Morose Hallis that the Packers are going to be a powerful factor in the Western Division race. You have to hand it to Vince Lombardi. He did a splendid job. He had a fine team out there, and the better team won. There's no question about it. The Packers have made a great transition under him. How about the Monsters? We were strictly minus today, he said dryly. We weren't even close to subpar. It's one of those things that happen. Of course, the Packers defense may have had something to do with that. Pinpointing the Bears' downfall, George lamented, "It was too bad that rookie of ours, Richie Pettibone, had to fumble. He's a real good kid, and I know it'll bother him." Pettibone's bobble, recovered by Jim Ringo on the Bears' 26, led to the Packers' touchdown. None of the opening weekend's developments, including the Bears' defeat, had surprised him. The Pro Football Pioneer admitted, "It was just what I expected. It will be a great scramble." We got some other stuff here. All right, now we got this is from the other page here. Let me get this over here. All right. So this is Rick Caceres was, I think, was held at 29 yards and 11 trips, while Willie Gallimore was held to 28 yards on 11 carries. So between the two of them, Caceres and Gallimore, they had 57 yards on 22 carries. Not even 3 yards a carry. Wow. The Packer rushing game came up with 176 yards. No mean feat against the Bears, with Taylor and Horning getting 159 yards on 41 attempts, basically 4 yards a carry. The Bays played ball control, edging the Bears in plays 63-53 and passed only 14 times. McCann hurled only 2 in the last half, the 67-yarder to McGee and a 9-yard job to Don McElhaney. A 25-mile-an-hour wind roaring out of the southwest changed the Packers' strategy, and at the start, they won the toss and elected to take the goal, take the wind, instead of receiving. This gave the Packers the wind on their backs in the first and the fourth quarters. After the Packers frustrated themselves into a frenzy in the first quarter, the Bears made their farthest penetration of the game just before the opening period ended. Starting on their own 41, they put together 2 first downs, chiefly on Bratkowski passes to Caceres and Dooley to the Packer 26. The Bears wound up with the 4th down and 1 on the Bay 17, so Bratkowski tried a quarterback sneak. He was straightened up as he hit the line of scrimmage and thrown back. The Pack took over. Guess he should have tried the Eagles tush push. That might have worked. Aveni, I guess Aveni, or that wouldn't be Aveni, maybe Aveni, tried 2 field goals in the next 10 minutes. He was short from 47 yards, but then hit from 46 yards at 12:06 of the second quarter. Stung by the score, the Packers roared back. A 12-yard run by Taylor and Horning's 19-yard pass to Knafel, plus an interference penalty on Dowler by Caroline, gave the Bays position on the Bears 17. Pettibone gave Knafel a sneaky shove in the end zone on a pass, but there was no interference call. On the next play, George intercepted McCann's throw. The Packers took the third period kickoff and zoomed 59 yards, only to run into frustration. Taylor ate up most of the yardage with 41 yards and 2 carries, maybe 2 trips, but the attack stalled on the 19, where the count was 4th and 1. While the fans howled for the Packers to try for it, Horning went for the field goal, but the pass back was fumbled. Horrors. More tough Packer defense, and the offense was moving again. McCann passed perfectly to McGee, who took the ball on the Bear 40 behind Barnes and raced to the 13, where Barnes pushed him out of bounds. The Bears got tough, and Horning tried a field goal from the 14, but it went to the left. He missed a 14-yard field goal. A 32-yard pass from Brown to Gallimore to midfield set up Aveni's field goal from the 42 on the third play of the fourth quarter. So now it was 6-0, the Bears. After a first down, McGee went back to punt and was roughed up good by Pettibone, who took the punt and fumbled. Ringo recovering. The Packers, of course, refused the penalty and took over on the Bear 26-yard line. Horning went for 6, Taylor went for 5, and Horning for 5 down to the Bear 10. Taylor went 2 yards, and the Bears were nipped for roughing down to half the distance, down to the 4. Horning lost a yard at right end, so Taylor hit the left side and cut sharply upfield into the end zone behind blocks from Fuzzy Thurston and Jerry Kramer. Horning converted the extra point for a 7-6 Packer lead. The Bears slammed back with a first down to the Packers' 49, but the Packers were equal to the threat. Hanner tossed Gallimore for a 6-yard loss on a reverse. Dooley dropped the pass when hit by Freeman. Forrester brought down Gallimore for a yard loss, and Brown had to punt. The clock showed 4 minutes and 29 seconds left in the game when the Bays took over. Horning, Taylor, and Horning ripped up 22 yards for 2 first downs. A Packer tripping penalty and a 6-yard loss on Horning's run forced McGee to punt. George came close to blocking it, but the ball sailed down and out of bounds on the 2. Then came the safety. And yippee! All right, so that is... All right. That would be the Green Bay Press-Gazette. That was a lot of information on that one there. Let's see here. We got the Post-Crescent. Ooh. Share the screen. The Post-Crescent. Where are we at here? The September 28th, 1959 edition of the Post-Crescent. All right, here we go. This one here. Jim Taylor stopped by Erich Barnes, who later became New York Giant. And then he went to the Browns, I do believe, after that. After picking up 5 yards in the first quarter. Terrific Packer defense earns 9-6 win over the Bears. A magnificent defense and just enough offense added to a historical Packer victory over the Bears at City Stadium Sunday afternoon. Final score was 9-6, with the Packers scoring a touchdown, the extra point, and a safety in the final 7 minutes of the heart-stopping game before 32,150. This was more than just a triumph over the Green Bay's arch rival. It was the beginning of the new and fiery regime headed by Vince Lombardi, who was carried off the field by the joyous Bays after the game. Packers drew up a fiery defense, probably the Packers' toughest since the mid-30s. That seems like this is almost like a lot of the ones were a lot from the Green Bay Press-Gazette. It's almost like a word for word. Oh, word for word. I'm going to pass on this one here. I don't think there's any, I think this is just the one. Fans are counted down the last 14 seconds and few left. I don't know where, let's see where this is at here. Oh, final, even after the final gun. Oh yeah, this is all almost the same exact thing as the other one. So I'm going to skip this. The Post-Crescent. Unfortunately, I didn't read the entire article, but I still got a couple more to go here. The Chicago Tribune. So this should be something different here. Share the screen. The Chicago Tribune. This would be the September 28th, 1959. Edition of the Chicago Tribune. All right. Here we go. Jimmy Taylor, Green Bay fullback, outrunning Richie Pettibone and Joe Fortunato as he carries to the Chicago 8-yard line in the final quarter Sunday. Taylor scored game's only touchdown 3 plays later. So, see the fans in the background standing up, getting all excited and everything. Let's see what we got here. Here we go. The Chicago Bears, overly generous and offensively ineffectual, set up One too many scoring chances for a spirited band of Green Bay Packers Sunday went down to defeat 9-6 in the opening game of the National Football League season. It was one of the most resounding upsets of a weekend that saw favorites dumped in collegiate as well as professional football and got the regime of Vince Lombardi, the Packers' new coach and general manager, off in a spasm of enthusiasm and hopefulness. Heavy favorites over the Packers and victorious in 5 of their preseason contests, the Bears came into the game regarded as the team most likely to succeed in the league championship race and promptly fell apart. They made only one scoring threat, reaching Green Bay's 17-yard line after recovering a fumbled punt, and scored their first 6 points on 2 long field goals by rookie John Avini. The big end from Indiana kicked 146. Let's go here. 146. Let's see if there we go. 146 yards. That's not okay. 146 yards with the gale that swept through the stadium in the second quarter, and one from 42 yards against the wind early in the fourth quarter. He missed one on a 46-yard attempt in the first period. Now, in the other, the Green Bay Press-Gazette, he said he missed one from 47 yards. It is what it is. But you see how a lot of times, there'll be like slight discrepancies in what the different papers are reporting. Before they seized upon a fumble and were moved to the 3-yard line now here it says, before they seized a fumble and were moved to the 3-yard line by roughness penalty, and the Green Bay Press-Gazette said it was a roughing and moved it to the 4-yard line. They ran the ball down to the 8, got a roughing, moved it half the distance down to the 4. Here it says they got it down to the 3, which gave them their touchdown and the victory in the fourth period. The Packers had passed up 5 scoring opportunities. 5. So they easily could have scored a lot more points. Paul Hornung, the ex-Notre Dame star, who has become the darling of the Packer land, darkened the day for the highly partisan sellout throng of 32,150 by missing field goal attempts from the 13, 19, and 26-yard line. Well, see, here's his 13. The other paper said he missed a 14-yard field goal. And 3 times the Packers put on sustained drives to no avail. They advanced 63 yards with the help of a 36-yard interference penalty on J.C. Caroline in the second period, reaching the Bears 17 before defensive captain Bill George setting up a 4-man line and 7 secondary men in zones intercepted Lamar McCann's pass. McCann, staying on the ground most of the time, bucked the wind and the struggling Bear defense at the outset of the third period to march 61 yards to the 19 before Tim Brown fumbled the snap from center on a field goal attempt. Well, on the other one, it said that Bart Starr fumbled it, I believe. So Tim Brown fumbled the snap from center on a field goal attempt, and a moment later, he passed 67 yards, McCann, to Max McGee, then picked up 7 yards and 3 more plays to reach the Bears' 6. The Packers were dominating the game, but the Bears were controlling the scoring, and at this point, it appeared the contest would end 6-0 on the slippery field. It probably would have too had rookie Richie Pettibone from Tulane not fumbled one of McGee's high punts. Center Jim Ringo ran down the field, pounced on the ball at the Bears' 26. Hornung and Jimmy Taylor, a little fullback from LSU, he wasn't that little, but began leveling at the Bears' defense. They got to the Bears' 8 in 4 attempts. Then there was a roughing penalty against the Bears, moving the ball up to the 4. Hornung was held to 1 yard. Now, in the other paper, he said they got down to the 4. He said he lost a yard back to the 5. Taylor took the ball around the left end and got the touchdown from 5 yards out. Here it says they got to the 4, and Hornung gained a yard down to the 3. Right? But on the next play, Taylor lashed at the right side of the Bear line and leaving Doug Atkins, Bill Ronelt, Earl Leggett, and J.C. Caroline sprawled out in his wake. He smashed into the end zone for the game's only touchdown. Warning's extra point gave the Packers the lead and the game. The two other points came in the final 47 seconds when Dave Hanner tackled Ed Brown in the end zone on a first down pass attempt after McGee's 61-yard punt had rolled out of bounds on the Bears' 2. And once again, there's some stats. Yeah, I mean, some teams could pass the ball. I mean, the Eagles could throw the ball. Obviously, the 49ers could throw the ball. Obviously, some guy by the name of Johnny Unitas could throw the ball. So some teams could pass the ball. Other teams was not so good here. I mean, you go 96 yards today, nowadays, passing the ball in a game. Whew. You go 4 out of 14 passing the ball nowadays. Whew. It was interesting because in the Green Bay Press Gazette, they said the Packers had 1 pass intercepted. Here they said they have 2. All right, and we got one more. One more to go. The Lacrosse Tribune. All right, let's check it out. I know there's some. All right, where are we at here? There we go. September 28th, 1959. I know one of them. Hold on here. One of them had some. Here we go. I'm going to after. I'm going to go. Going to go back to the Green Bay Press Gazette because there's some pictures there I wanted to show you. Packers staged fourth quarter rally to upset the Bears 9-6. Here we go. Here's McCann. McCann fires away. One of Green Bay standouts in 9-6 upset was Lamar McCann, a quarterback, shown here ready to throw to as a Bears lineman charges in. Well, that's Doug Atkins. You want to get the ball away before he gets in there because it ain't no patty cake league like the way it is nowadays. Like now, you take half a step and you look at the quarterback, it's automatically, especially if it's like Patrick Mahomes or somebody like that, it's automatically wrong. The defender's thrown out of the game. The team's defense, the team that was on defense, they lose their first round pick for the next 17 years. There's a 700-yard penalty against the team. It's just unbelievable. Back in the day, if the guy's within a football field of you, you throw the ball, you're still fair game. I mean, so you got this dude here, Mr. Atkins, coming bearing 6'8", bearing down on you. Get rid of the ball. All right. Coach is carried off the field by his players. The Green Bay Packers carried their coach off the field Sunday. He also carted away a stunning National Football League victory over the Bears. After seeing scoring chances fizzle for 3 periods, the Packers shoved over a touchdown and collected a safety in the last minute for the 9-6 victory. The Bear points came on a pair of 46-yard field goals, which is not true. I mean, it was a 46 and a 42-yarder. Right? A tough Packer defense held the favored Bears without a touchdown, and veteran end Max McGee punted Green Bay into position for its points. Now, Max McGee was a wide receiver. Now, unlike today, where I'm just a punter, I'm just a kicker, I'm just the long snapper. It wasn't like that back then. We worked 10 weeks on this defense since Vince Lombardi, who took over as head coach last winter. Charged with rebuilding the club, his initial victory equaled the Packer total last year when they finished with a 1-10-1 record. Now, this is wrong. A 1-1-10 record. 1 win, 1 loss, and 10 ties. No, that's not the way. It was a 1-10-1 record. We planned the game the way the defense played it, Lombardi said. Just before the kickoff, we went over our defense again. It was a team effort. Lombardi said he also told his players about the great football tradition here and reminded them we have a chance to do something about it. Bear owner and coach George Halas passed compliments to Lombardi and the Packers, but said we were not up to par. We made mistakes. With linebackers Bill Forrester, Tom Bettis, and Dane Curry leading the charge, the Packers defense limited the Bears to a total of 151 yards, only 75 of them on the ground. Packers rolled up 277 yards, 101 of them on the passes of Lamar McCann and Paul Hornung. Packers made 16 first downs. The Bears only had 10. Bears quarterbacks Zeke Bratkowski and Ed Brown completed only 10 of 23 passes, said Brown. We were outplayed. We couldn't get anything going. Rookie John Avini gave the Bears a 3-0 lead with less than 3 minutes left in the second period. From then on, Green Bay moved. McGee's 54-yard punt was taken by Bear rookie Richie Pettibone, who ran 8 yards before he fumbled. Jim Ringo, Green Bay's all-pro center, recovered on the Bears' 26. Hornung and fullback Jim Taylor, who led the ball carriers with 98 yards on 22 attempts, took turns moving closer to the Bear goal. Finally, Taylor swung around and from the 5 for the score. Hornung converted. Less than 2 minutes later, McGee got off his last punt, a 61-yard boot that rolled out of bounds on the Bear 2. As Brown went back to pass, he was dropped in the end zone for the safety by 243-pound defensive tackle Dave Hanner. Hanner said he couldn't recall scoring a safety before. About the Packer defense, he said, we just turned one of the Bears' tricks against them. We charged the passer. Packers were inside the Bear 24 times in the first 3 periods, but each time a mistake hurt. Once a pass was intercepted, 3 times Hornung missed field goals went wrong. He missed from the 19 and the 14, and the third time this time it says Bart Starr dropped the ball. And the other one, it said Tim Brown dropped the ball. I wasn't concentrating, said Hornung. I looked up, so I guess as he went to it's like swinging a golf club, right? You're looking at the ball, and as you follow through, you're supposed to be head down, right? Following through. And then once you follow through, then you look, right? Same thing with kicking. You're kicking, but you put the ball down, you follow, you know what I mean? It happened to me all the time, especially swinging a golf club. You're looking down, as you're coming down, oh, where's it going to go? And as you follow through, you're not looking at the ball, and then you duff it, and it goes, Same thing with kicking. As you're looking down, they put the ball down, you're swinging your foot through, and instead of following through with your head down, you get ready to kick, and you start looking up. So he missed a 14-yard field goal. So, I mean, you can see where the Packers easily could have had, 6 more points, maybe 9 more points. So that this could have been a more convincing of a win, but a win's a win. Well, Hornung said, I wasn't concentrating. I looked up. It was first game tenseness, said Lombardi, as he discussed the Packer attack. Now that the defense is working, we'll have to sharpen the offense. Let's see. I think that might be it here for this one. I think that might be it. But let me go back here real fast to the Green Bay Press Gazette because I got some pictures here. Share screen. I want to show you here where the Green Bay Press Gazette. Here we go. All right, here we go. I've got a bunch of pictures like on maybe the back page or something like that. But here's Vince Lombardi. This is you go. There's videos of this too. You can see the Packer players carrying them off the field, and they're running with them. They're just not walking with them. They're like running with them, literally. Joyride. Happy Packers carry coach Vince Lombardi after the big victory. And there's Bart Starr right there. I bet you. Picture pointers. Lombardi examines Polaroid pictures shot from above during the game. That looks like Bart Starr there. And we got what we got there. Basket catch. Gary Knauffel craters McCann pass for a first down. Oh, Curly returns. Curly Lambeau, Packers founder and first coach, arrives for the game. Bruin Balk. Packers Bill Forrester breaks breaks up an Ed Brown pass. Oh, yeah, look at it. Crashing in there. Then the ball just goes wobbling out of there. Over here, we got protection. Packers, Lamar McCain gets protection. Well, you got a Hall of Famer here, Jim Taylor, and you got Forrest Gregg, 2 Hall of Famers protecting. Looks like here, right? See his head's being hit back. Well, Taylor's got his forearm banging a dude in the head. Right? See the guy's like head's like snapping back. And here's Atkins right here. So once again, and if this is Kramer here, you could have literally once again, you have what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 7 guys in this one picture here, and 4 of them could be in the Hall of Fame. It's crazy. And then over here, this is where, right, the victor bears Hallis congratulates Lombardi. So that so they carry him off, then and they let him down. He runs over here. Whoops, wants to run over and shake Papa Bear's Hallis's hand. I think that's it. I don't think there's any more pictures here. Yeah, so a very, very thrilling and what do you want to call it? Certainly pictures of things to be, right? The future of the Green Bay Packers was certainly looking very, very bright. So that's the way it was on this date, September 27th, 1959, between the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field in pro football's first 50 years. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.